Very good evening to you and welcome to tonight's edition of KTN Prime. It's Friday, the 29th of June 2012. I'm James Karani.
And I'm Edith Kimani. This evening we will be looking at why the US envoy decided to quit Kenya. But first, here's a look at the highlights.
US envoy to Kenya quits over row with Washington.
The judiciary asserts itself by striking out Kibaki's county commissioners.
And Anyang dismisses NHIF's calms a scandal that never was.
And NOC Athletics Kenya lock horns over Kenya's Olympic team.
So welcome once again. This is KTN Prime. Stay tuned for that story. In just a while, we'll be looking at some of the possibilities that sent the American envoy packing. But first of all, the High Court today nullified the appointment of 47 county commissioners on the grounds that their appointments were unconstitutional.
In her ruling, Justice Mumbi Ngugi further said the president had failed to uphold gender balance. KTN's Wilkis Tanyabwa now reports.
Members of civil society filled the courtroom awaiting the ruling by presiding judge Mumbi Ngugi. In the ruling, the court nullified the appointment of 47 county commissioners on the ground that President Mwai Kibaki lacked the legal authority to make the appointments. The judge noted that the head of state contravened several sections of the Constitution in his purported appointment of the officers. The judge further found that Kibaki had failed to uphold the gender balance. Out of 47 commissioners, only 10 were women. In addition, the judge found that in making the appointments, the president had failed to consult the prime minister. These factors leading to a ruling that was welcomed by activists. In her ruling, the judge noted, and I quote, "The positions were not advertised and public participation was not exercised. Kenyans have been fighting for a reformed society, and that is what culminated in the new constitution, and it should be upheld." End of quote. The judge reminded the executive that the country has a new constitution and it was necessary for leaders to change the way things were being done in the previous constitutional order. She said the legislature should have created the offices of county commissioners first.
At last, the judiciary has asserted itself that it is beyond control by any executive authority and the sovereign power belongs to the people of this nation.
This judgment has vindicated not only the petitioners and the applicants that came to court today, but also the people of Kenya.
President Kibaki appointed the county commissioners to undertake coordination of national government functions in the 47 counties. The Orange Democratic Movement, however, opposed the appointments, saying they were in breach of the National Accord, which requires consultation between the two principals. The Center for Rights, Education and Awareness moved to court seeking the nullification of the appointments. Wilkis Tanyabwa, KTN Prime.
That particular story brings us to the big question tonight, and we ask you, do you support the court's decision to nullify Kibaki's list of 47 county commissioners? As always, send us your brief comments beginning with a yes or no answer to our SMS number 8040. We'll be sampling some of your comments at the tail end of this live newscast. I hand you over now to Edith and one of the biggest stories of today.
Thank you very much, Karani. U.S. Ambassador to Kenya, Scott Gratian, has resigned, citing conflict with Washington over what the envoy termed as leadership style. Now, while embassy officials remained tight-lipped over the reason why the ambassador called it quits, observers suspect the resignation might be linked to a party for a community of gays and lesbians hosted by the U.S. Embassy, which the deeply religious envoy skipped. KTN's Ann Kiguta reports.
Scott Gration has quit as U.S. ambassador to Kenya, citing differences with President Obama, who has voiced concerns about the ambassador's leadership style. Gration, who was remarkably low-key in comparison to his fiery predecessor Michael Ranneberger, now says he submitted his letter of resignation last Monday to the Secretary of State and to the U.S. President. His resignation is effective tomorrow. Gration has largely shied away from local politics and controversy, save for one thing. The U.S. Embassy recently hosted a delegation of pro-homosexuality groups at his residence, something that is largely seen as taboo not just in Kenya but Africa. Those who attended the party say the ambassador skipped the event, instead delegating a representative from the Public Affairs Office. The move came hot on the heels of a declaration by President Obama that he supports gay rights. Being an election year, Obama's announcement was largely seen as strategic to attract a windfall of the so-called gay money to finance his campaign. Insiders say Gration had expressed reservations about hosting the Gay Pride event on moral grounds. The former U.S. Air Force general hails from a deeply religious family. He grew up in the Democratic Republic of Congo and spent some time in Kenya, where his parents worked as missionaries. His new policy is to fight prejudice against lesbians, gays, bisexual and transgender people. The embassy opted for a small, invite-only forum to introduce gay pride in Kenya. Sources say his lack of cooperation with what is now mainstream U.S. policy on homosexuality could have led to his exit. Ann Kiguta, KTN Prime.
And of course, KTN will keep following up on that story. We'll give you the details as we get them. But let's come back to matters to do with our very own country. And the acting minister for provincial administration and internal security, Yusuf Haji, has asked politicians to stop spreading what he termed as wild allegations, speculation and rumor mongering over the cause of the helicopter crash that killed ministers George Saitoti, Assistant Minister Orwa Ojode, and 4 police officers. Patrick Amimo reports.
Minister Yusuf Haji has come out in defense of the government over accusations that it was delaying investigations into the chopper crash that killed 6 government officials. Haji says investigations began within the hour after the crash. Yesterday, lawmakers put the government on the spot over the crash.
The inquiry of the death of Honorable Saitoti and Honorable Ojode has been frustrated by the government up until, Mr. Speaker, the investigators who the Saitoti family brought here from South Africa had to go back.
More persons participating in the investigation have gone out of the country as alleged because of lack of facilitation. In actual fact, the team that went to South Africa did so on their own volition after completion of their site investigations.
A section of lawmakers have sensationally claimed Saitoti and Ojode were assassinated because of their efforts to smoke out drug dealers.
The moment you do a follow-up on these matters, you are threatened with death, and this is how senior politicians in this House and junior police officers have met their deaths, Mr. Speaker.
The police commissioner was the first person on the scene, who then walked away when the vice president arrived. Was there a grand scheme within government to do away with our colleagues?
Wild allegations, speculations and rumors. And the rumor mongering should cease immediately.
However, Haji has assured members of the public, including MPs who might have any information regarding the crash, to give the information to the Commission of Inquiry.
It is very unfortunate that people take advantage of the privilege in the House, that you cannot account for what you have said. If somebody have any tangible information, what stops such a person for appearing before the commission and telling them everything that they know? They can even ask to be allowed to say in camera, I'm sure.
He says the wreckage of the helicopter will be removed next week to a safe storage once the government gets a container to transport it. Patrick Amimo, KTN Prime.
All right, let's now shed some light on the Miscellaneous Amendment Bill 2012, and members of Parliament can now breathe easy. This is after High Court backed the decision by Parliament to allow politicians without first degrees to contest parliamentary seats. KTN's Joy Doringbira has more.
The High Court ruling only confirmed the decision by President Kibaki, rejecting amendments by Parliament that could have locked out politicians without university degrees from contesting. The court said today that the degree requirement would only be applicable to candidates seeking to contest the position of the President, Deputy President and county governors.
I agree with the party with her finding striking out post-secondary education for members of parliament. But her holding that a degree is necessary for county governorship or for presidency with respect to her is completely wrong. You do not need a holder of a degree to be a governor or to be a president at all.
Parliament was forced to change an earlier amendment that required parliamentary aspirants to possess degrees. This followed the refusal by President Kibaki to accept the amendments, which would have locked out more than 80 current members of parliament from contesting. A section of members of parliament had argued that legislators with lower academic qualifications lacked the competence required of a lawmaker.
Mr. Chairman, sir, it is there. On the FM stations, those are the voice of the people. On the television, in the print media, the people are saying that thank you very much. You allowed councillors who don't have this education and MPs who don't have the education to have a second chance, but we, the voters, we don't want that.
So it's important that we have some higher qualifications so that when they are doing the salaries review, they don't consider members of parliament. Members of parliament do not lose out because they have no degree.
This debate, however, was met with opposition, with some legislators saying it was limiting citizens' choice of leaders they preferred.
It is the majority of Kenya who have a right to elect their representatives, Mr. Chairman. When you limit them to only an elite in this country, Mr. Chairman, what you are creating is not a democracy, it's a dictatorship.
The High Court has now given legislators the responsibility to decide what qualifications those seeking parliamentary offices should possess. It has also given a lifeline to over 80 members of parliament who would have automatically been locked out of the August House had the degree rule been enforced. Joy Doreen Bira, KTN Prime.
It's no longer a secret that our country is battling a big war with cancer. But this became even clearer today as yet another senior government official disclosed his battle with cancer. East African Community Permanent Secretary David Nalo says he was diagnosed with lymphoma, a cancer of the lymph nodes, in February this year. Like previous high-profile cases, Nalo had to take part of his treatment outside Kenya. KTN's Anso Imwendia attended Nalo's disclosure and brings us his story.
Not a common sight, that of a man in his 50s breaking down before a crowd that includes his children.
Let me also thank the entire staff of the ministry.
It is one that tells the story of a high-profile personality, permanent secretary for 9 years, brought down to near death, but survives to tell about it. Just 6 months back, he had an itch on his skin that refused to go away. His doctor diagnosed an allergy to dust mites. Consequently, the red carpet on his office was removed and the floor tiled to help deal with the allergy. But his health continued to deteriorate. In February this year, he finally learned why.
Preliminary results reveal that, David, you have cancer.
He was informed that he had lymphoma, a type of cancer that affects white blood cells. It was causing his system to produce an excess of histamine, the substance that was causing his itch. The news devastated his family.
Very devastating. And I remember that day I went home and I couldn't sleep because, again, in Kenya most of the time we think cancer is a killer disease.
Nalo was started on chemotherapy in Nairobi for a month before proceeding to the United States to get a second opinion. He is grateful he is now back on his feet. His experience has made him realize that he took the most important things in life for granted.
And this is to men now. And they're very busy, they're working very hard, they're building houses, they're buying cars, they're collecting assets. But one asset, which is the family, is left until the last minute.
He says his condition made him learn more about his family, than he ever did before.
Without family support, it's very difficult. We never used to get a lot of time to talk, but after this experience, we spend a lot of time together. We get to tell each other how much we appreciate each other.
And the fact that he had to seek further treatment in the US made him realize the gaps existing in the healthcare sector. Kenya has few cancer specialists called oncologists, as well as dedicated cancer centers. The cost of treatment is prohibitive for most citizens. These are some of the issues NALO would like to help deal with at government level.
Disclosing a very private matter, such as a medical condition, isn't always an easy thing, more so for a high-profile personality such as PS David Nalo. It is nonetheless an important step towards finding healing.
Part of his healing, he says, is going back to work. He isn't putting in as many hours as he used to. He tells me that this is part of his healing. But this time round, he says he will reserve more time for his family and God. Anso Mwendia, KTN Prime.
Thank you, and so, well, these oncologists do advise that where possible, one should get a screening. But to other issues, as matters stand now, Kenyans seem to be spoiled for choice on who to elect as President Mwai Kibaki's successor. However, Prime Minister Raila Odinga still remains the man to beat in the coming polls if a survey by a local pollster is to be believed. Infotrack says if elections were to be held today, 35% of voters would elect Raila as president compared to 17% who will vote for Uhuru Kenyatta. Meanwhile, Odinga, Kalonzo, Uhuru and Ruto hit the campaign trail today. Patrick Amimo has more of this story.
An opinion poll carried out by Infotrack Harris between 17th and 19th of June in Kenya's 8 provinces indicates that 93% of Kenya's registered voters will participate in the coming polls. According to the poll, 35% of Kenyan voters will vote for Prime Minister Raila Odinga if elections were to be held today. Uhuru Kenyatta will come second with 17.3%, while William Ruto will draw at position 3 with 9.9% of the votes. Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka will get 8.8% of votes from Kenyan voters, while Deputy Prime Minister Musalia Mudavadi would grab 8.5% votes in the polls. Some of these politicians hit the campaign trail today. Prime Minister Raila Odinga was in Mombasa, where he addressed the secondary school head teachers conference.
For change to come in our country, we must elect leadership of integrity. People who believe truly in this new constitution.
Deputy Prime Minister Uhuru Kenyatta was in Meru. He asked Kenyans to observe peace during the upcoming general elections.
Sisi tunataka amani. Amani itatokana na umoja wetu. Tuweze kutembea pamoja.
Meanwhile, Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka was in Garsen.
Mukiniamini na kura zenu, mujue itakuwa hatua moja ya kumaliza umaskini katika kaunti ya Tana River.
And Ruto was in West Pokot County, where he addressed his supporters.
Wale wanataka kiti ya bunge waje URP. Tutafanya nomination, kila mtu atapatiwa nafasi sawa na wananchi wenyewe wataamua.
Patrick Amimo, KTN Prime.
Now, despite all the challenges that we face as Kenyans, we Kenyans are known to be a highly innovative people, but most of the time, their innovations never make it to the production stage. But one Kenya, Gabriel Nderitu, does not fall in this category. Nderitu has built a plane, yes, a plane actually, which he recently tested at the proposed Kambirwa airstrip in Murang'a.
Now, after 3 years of building this aircraft, Gabriel Nderitu ferried it to Murang'a for a flight test. But while the plane did not get off the ground, Nderitu is confident that with a little more work, his dreams will come to fruition. KTN's Wilkis Tanyabwa reports.
After a few false starts, the Upendo experimental model plane sputtered to life. And as residents of Kambirwa village watched, it made its maiden journey down the proposed Kambirwa airstrip. It would fail to take off, but the very fact that it stood here despite the challenges that have plagued its owner, Gabriel Nderitu, meant that he may well be on his way towards achieving his dream. Gabriel Nderitu is an IT specialist with a passion for the aviation industry. Since he was a child, he dreamt of one thing, building his own aircraft, and today the work of 3 years appeared to have paid off. He drove from Nairobi to Murang'a with a 250-kilogram aircraft on the back of a truck. This he judged was a suitable spot to test his little plane.
We've done some other tests at Kagudo Road. Those ones, the field was not as good as this one. This one at least is a good field. You can see we are not hitting any pothole or anything.
On this first trial run, nobody was allowed to get on board for safety reasons. Instead, Gabriel used a remote control.
Even if something goes bad, you are likely to be hurt. So that is the reason why we came up with the remote control fashion, basically to test it.
Yet despite his best efforts, the plane would not take off, only managing to taxi down the airstrip over and over again while tethered. Meaning it's back to the drawing board. He dreams of the day when his dreams shall take flight, but this may take a while yet.
We've done nearly 5 tests, and so far it's only a minor modification we'll do. We'll see where we'll be maybe in the next 2 weeks or so.
He confides that a few institutions of learning have expressed interest in his innovation. He welcomes the idea of partnering with them in the belief that in order to succeed, he will require input from those with more skills and experience in building aircrafts. But now that he has had a little taste of success, there can be no stopping him. Wilkis Anyabwa, KTN Prime.
I mean, it's really interesting. You know, Edith, as I was telling you, even though I can jump higher than that plane, I mean, what I respect about that guy is that he transformed it from his thoughts and tried it out.
I know, he's better than most of us who just have ideas harbored in our heads.
Yeah, that's really refreshing. But let's take you back to very serious news, and we're reminding you of a big question tonight. And we're asking you, do you support the court's decision to nullify Kibaki's list of 47 county commissioners?
Well, send us your brief comments beginning with a yes or a no to our SMS number, that's 8040, and we will sample some of your comments at the end of this live newscast. You're watching KTN Prime, and what's coming ahead?
And just ahead, do you want to be a weatherman? I'm sure you don't want to be it, but do you want to be a weatherman? Stay tuned for that. We'll be telling you or taking you through the life in the day of a Kenyan weatherman. Stay tuned for that.
insurance, investment management, property investment, and financial advisory. UAP. Better, simple life.
That's right. Yeah, I wanna see it.
precious to me. Hey, yeah, yeah. All I need is a here right here in Africa. Share to secure here in Africa. All I need is a here right here in Africa. To give me a season, oh, start me, yeah, Africa. I love you, Africa. I love you, Africa. I love you, Africa. I love you, yeah. I love you, Africa. I love you, yeah.
Nyanya, tupatie uji. Asante. Siri yako ni nini? Hakuna siri.
But it's no longer a secret. Nzoia Sugar, sweetening Kenya since 1970.
This year, it's time to go big. Enjoy unbelievable discounts on home furniture, furnishings and decor. Get your dream bathroom at rock bottom prices or even transform your office with big bargains. There's only one sale, the big annual sale at the Tile and Carpet Center.
Hi, my name is Lawrence Chibi. I'm in high school. When I grow up, I want to be a banker because I like to play with numbers when I was young. I want to use big because I want to write my future.
Think big, write big.
And now, introducing another one. Triple distilled Crescent Vodka, now available from the home of quality. Truly Kenyan.
Habari Afrika! Leo tutatumia nguo hii kuweka Ario katika jaribio gumu zaidi. Tutatumia kovu sugu zaidi, dua la mchuzi. Dua hili upenye zaidi ndani ya nguo na kuliondoa kwa mosho moja huonekana haiwezekani. Tutapasua nguo hii katika vipande viwili. Tutaosha kipande kimoja kwa sabuni ya unga ya kawaida na kingine kwa sabuni mpya ya Ariel iliyo na micro cleaning boosters. Ariel mpya hupenya ndani zaidi na kuondoa madoa sugu kwa mwosho mmoja. Je, Ariel imeondoa kwa mwosho mmoja? Na sabuni ya unga ya kawaida? Tuipe sabuni ya unga ya kawaida mara ya pili. Na baada ya mwosho wa pili? Kwa hiyo, nani ameshinda jaribio la mwosho mmoja? Ariel mpya, matokeo bora kwa mwosho mmoja.
Cities were growing by the day, but as the new buildings grew taller, the roads surrounding them just couldn't keep up. Then along came the Michelin Man, reminding us that the right tire changes everything. Stronger, more durable, the Michelin Energy XM2 tire is more resistant to pothole damage. Michelin, a better way forward.
For more information on pothole guarantee, call Kingsway Tire Expert Centers countrywide. The Kabarak University Half Marathon will be held on 30th June 2012 in Mogotio Town. The race begins from 6 a.m. at the equator and finishes at the Kabarak University grounds. Registration is 300 shillings for the 21-kilometer half marathon, 1,000 shillings for the 5-kilometer corporate race, and 100 shillings for the children's race. You can register at all Transnational Bank branches, Mobile World offices, and CAS offices North Rift. Registration closes on 25th June. There are great cash prizes and heifers to be won. Proceeds from the marathon will help support Ngata Baby Care for abandoned children. Kabarak University, world-class education in biblical perspective.
Join us at the Hilton Hotel on Saturday, 30th June from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Our theme is Achieving Prosperity. Come get enlightened by, among others, Reverend Kathy Kuna of JCC Church, speaking on God Desires Prosperity for All, Sue Moriah, Director, Suraya Properties, on the promise of home ownership, and Susie Wakabi, founder of Susie Beauty Cosmetics, on enhancing beauty with makeup. Entry is only 500 shillings. Come, meet and bond with the Eve sisters. The Saturday Standard will publish 9 pages of appointments and promotions of civil servants from various ministries in the public service. Get your copy of the Saturday Standard.
Welcome back to KTN Prime. We're glad you're still watching.
Now let's turn to a story that's really drawing a lot of attention today, where a Nairobi businessman is alleging that police officers hijacked him and stole 90,000 shillings from him after he withdrew the money from a bank in industrial area. Crispin Otieno, who claims he can identify some of the officers who robbed him, says his attempts to have those who stole the money from him arrested have been frustrated.
However, when KTN contacted the police for comment, a senior officer at the industrial area police station promised to organize an identification parade so that Otieno can identify the suspects. But as Sophia Wanuna reports, Otieno is now fearing for his life.
It is at this bank in industrial area that Crispin Otieno went to withdraw money on Monday at around 1 p.m. He withdrew 51,000 shillings and had 39,000 shillings in his pocket. As he walked to his business premises where he runs a garage, a car stopped next to him. Inside were 4 men.
Co-driver akaniuliza unatoka wapi na unaenda wapi. Nikamjibu natoka Avon Center, naenda kazini. Toa kitambulisho chako cha kazi. Nikamjibu mimi sina kitambulisho cha kazi, niko na kitambulisho cha kitaifa. Kaniambia sitaki hiyo. Ingia ndani ya gari. Hapa sasa unaona mali pickup iko hii na nini? Hapa ndio sasa nilistopiwa hapa. First place kulikuwa na watu 4, sasa hapo kulitokea mwenye alikuwa na uniform complete ya polisi. Akanishika, akaniuliza kwa nini nilidharau polisi, niingie ndani ya gari. Kaniambia nilale hapa katikati.
Otieno, who alleges the policeman stole 90,000 shillings from him, says his attempts to ensure those responsible are brought to book have been futile.
Ule askari mwenye alikuwa ameniingiza ndani ya gari amekaa kwa jiwe kando ya hiyo bank. Kukimbia station nikaambia mwenye alikuwa ananiandikia statement, mwenye aliniingiza ndani ya gari na ndiye ameniibia, sababu yeye amechukua pesa zangu. Ako pale amekaa. Hapo nilijibiwa na huyo, ile kitu inahusisha polisi haipelekwangi speedy, inapelekwa pole pole. Na hapo ndio mambo ya kuzungushwa kwangu ilianzia.
It is on this spot on the southern bypass that Crispin Otieno says police officers who threatened to kill him and robbed him finally let him go. Police officers, he says, are well known to him, and now he fears that his life could be in danger.
Wasiwasi wangu ni vile mimi mwenyewe ninaamini niliibiwa na polisi. Na polisi mwenye alinitoa pesa kwa mfuko ninamjua. Kuwaelezea wakuje niwaonyeshe ndio huyu, walikataa. Wananielezea si mdogo, mkubwa wao. Niwe nikirudi kwa yule polisi mwenye aliniibia, nikimwona tena niwarudishie nini? Ripoti. Hata kama ni wewe unaweza. Mwizi amekuibia, ako na bunduki, na si mwizi tena, ni polisi. Na polisi wakosi bunduki, wako saa zote na bunduki. Na ashagundua alikuibia na unamjua, uko safe? Hauko safe.
We accompanied him to the industrial area police station. The OCS at the station said he was aware of the case, but referred us to the district criminal investigations officer. Outside the DCIO's office, Otieno claimed that he had spotted one of the officers who robbed him at the station. We alerted the DCIO, who said they would arrange an identification lineup at the station tomorrow. The DCIO also said cases of rogue cops is one of the challenges they face and assured Otieno that investigations are underway. Sophia Wanuna, KTN Prime.
Medical Services Minister Professor Anyang' Nyong'o says there was no scandal at NHIF involving the civil servants medical scheme. The minister's comments follows yesterday's vote in Parliament to throw out a report by a select committee that had recommended action against the minister and his counterpart in the Ministry of Public Services, Dalmas Otieno. And Kiguta reports.
Medical Services Minister Anyang' Nyong'o today claimed the NHIF controversy was the scandal that never was. His remarks come a day after Parliament rejected a report into the NHIF scandal, which claimed Public Service Minister Dalmas Otieno and Nyong'o failed to stop fraud in the award of contracts to health providers.
In spite of the halabali, what I call trade wars, the jealousies of losers, in spite of the halabali at NHIF, not a single civil servant has complained about NHIF civil service scheme.
Speaking at the ISO certification of the Kenyatta National Hospital, Nyong'o said the so-called revelations into the NHIF scandal was nothing more than the work of malicious people.
Just this week, I got a letter from the Civil Servants Union saying that they never complained about the services that being provided. They were never asked to go before the committee in Parliament as members, as beneficiaries, to testify. And they don't understand where these people came from.
The report presented to the House by the chairman of the Parliamentary Committee on Health, Dr. Robert Monda, also wanted the role of Anyang' Nyong'o in the entire affair probed. In a vote late yesterday, MPs threw out the recommendations of the report en masse. On Tuesday, MPs tried to stop the report from being tabled, claiming it had been altered. The final report that was brought before MPs said nothing about recovering the monies that were improperly given to Meridian Medical Center and Clinics Healthcare Limited. According to the House Committee, at the beginning of January, Clinics had only 22 facilities, but its list to the NHIF showed that it had 56, while Meridian had 13, and the list at NHIF showed it had 19. Although NHIF suspended its contract with the two, the monies paid out by Kenyans have not been recovered. A caretaker board at NHIF is expected to circulate a new list of health facilities for all civil servant schemes starting July 1st. The Police and Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission are still probing the matter. For KTN Prime, I'm Ann Kiguta.
Well, the Kenyan Meteorological Department takes a lot of flack for once in a while not getting it exactly right when it comes to predicting the weather patterns. But as we're just about to see, it might not be the easiest job to do. In our ongoing series on choosing a career, tonight we focus on meteorology. Physics and mathematics are a must for anyone who wants to pursue this field. It's a field that uses the most complex computers in the world to predict weather patterns. KTN's Angel Katusia tells us all about this particular field.
Probably the only thing majority of us understand from this chart on weather forecast is when the forecaster says that certain areas are expecting rains, low or high temperatures and sunny weathers. Beyond that, many may not comprehend what forecasting weather really means. It is one of the most complex fields in the world. Did you know that the most complex computers are the ones that are used by meteorologists? That's just how the career is.
So that calls for one to understand the processes that take place in the atmosphere. And the physical processes and so the dynamical processes are quite complex.
Meteorologists perform meteorology work involving precision measurements and comparison of physical quantities such as mass, length, time, force, speed, voltage and current. They calibrate precision equipment which measures these physical units. They may also certify that outside standards of such quantities as mass and volume are correct. To understand this career and the behind the scenes of it, we visit Mary Kilavi, a meteorologist at the Kenya Meteorological Department. She is among the few female in the field. It's just minutes past 2 p.m. and she, together with the team here, have already predicted the next day's weather.
Showers, Yeah, so we're going for showers and thunderstorms over several places. And since we still have a bit of moisture over the central areas too, as you can see from this model, this is a focus for tomorrow. The kind of moisture that you'll be having, what you can see in pink, yeah? But over the central areas, we may still have some showers, light to moderate showers in the afternoon, but over a few places.
This was Tuesday the 5th. Actually on 6th, which was the next day, the prediction was precise. But how do they arrive to final predictions? Mary takes us through.
The type of cloud cover that you have, the wind speed and direction, the rainfall for different stations. This is observations as to what's taking place at that particular hour. Yeah, so it's coded in such a way that you know when you look at it, it means this is wind direction this is a wind direction, this is a speed. Okay, you have to rely heavily on the observers, so their integrity has to be good, yeah? And two, you can roughly, if you have any queries, if you have any doubt, you can look at the satellite picture.
Much of the terms here are complex, but keenly, Mary continues to break down the process of weather prediction.
Forecasting is a long and complex process that starts first by acquisition of data. And what we need first is to be able to understand what is the current state of the atmosphere or the weather that is prevailing over the country. Because for you to give a forecast, you have first to start by understanding what is taking place right then. And hence we have different stations, synoptic stations all over the country. And from at these stations we have observatories that bring in data on an hourly basis. As you can see, where you have it marked green, it means that you have it's raining. It was raining at that particular hour, at that time, and we get this coming in for the next. Every hour. Once we come up with our own analysis, we compare with what the different models are also giving. And one example is like this one. This is from the Météo France. And depending on what the systems, how the systems look like in the upper levels, you can determine, one, how you expect the systems to develop, the systems at the surface to develop with time. And also you can determine, too, the progression of the systems.
For one to venture in this field, mathematics and physics are determinants. It sounds like those careers that we will associate with men. What does Mary think?
You needed to be good in physics and maths. And, well, that's something that I had been good at all along. They were actually my best subjects. So since I grew up liking the subjects, at the back of my mind, I didn't think it was a men's thing. I thought anyone who likes it and can, would do it.
With the technicalities of this job, Mary says the most difficult thing about this job is probably the most interesting thing about it as well.
It's the same thing. The challenge, like I said, every day everything is different, yeah? Because there's no one particular time when the systems are exactly alike. So even when you try, like for example, when you're coming up with the seasonal forecast, one of the methods that you use is what we call the analog technique, which means that you look at different climate fields. For example, you look at wind patterns on a month preceding the forecast over the years, going back to maybe 1960, about maybe 30, 40 years.
And they feel a need to take responsibility when predictions go otherwise?
In a way, yes. And that's just spurs in us, the desire to look further and see what is it that maybe we overlooked that probably was obvious or maybe wasn't that obvious.
It is a field that many other fields rely on, a field that mistakes can cause risks. But I failed. Mary said she cannot be anywhere else better. For KTN Prime, I'm Angel Katusia.
It is a wish of God that you hold what you are holding. And therefore, one lesson I've learned is we must learn to be gracious, and we must say thank you to the Almighty.
Join us at the Hilton Hotel on Saturday, 30th June from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Our theme is Achieving Prosperity. Come get enlightened by, among others, Reverend Kathy Kuna of JCC Church, speaking on God Desires Prosperity for All, Sue Moriah, Director, Suraya Properties, on the promise of home ownership, and Susie Wakabi, founder of Susie Beauty Cosmetics, on enhancing beauty with makeup. Entry is only 500 shillings. Come, meet and bond with the Eve sisters.
Herbal Betasil medicated lozenges. Fast, effective, and soothing action for sore throats.
A sore throat can be so uncomfortable and just makes you miserable, making swallowing painful, talking a bother, and even singing stressful. When you have a sore throat, take it easy. Ensure you take plenty of fluids, and remember, always, when symptoms persist, seek medical advice.
Now introducing 2 new Betasil flavors, Betasil Menthol and Betasil Peppermint.
Old Mutual has helped people invest to secure their future. With this experience comes much wisdom. The wisdom to enable you to do great things.
It's time to migrate your analog TV to the beautiful new world of digital television. Simply buy an approved DVB T2 set-top box from an authorized dealer today. Connect your UHF aerial and hook it up to your TV for a crystal clear connection to your favorite TV stations and many more. Digital TV, a beautiful new world of entertainment.
That may be good enough for these gems, but gems are getting tougher. You need advanced protection. Lifebuoy Advanced Lifebuoy gives protection against 10 infection-causing germs. 10 infection-causing germs. 1 advanced protection. Lifebuoy.
To secure their future. With this experience comes much wisdom. Wisdom to enable you to do great things.
In Woman's Instinct this Saturday, how Helen Wanjiko, a former house help, is now running her own taxi business, coping with cancer in children, how to dress a pregnant bride. Get it all in our copy of The Standard.
For mothers around the world, family's health is paramount. But every day, thousands of people are affected by germs that cause infectious diseases like flu, skin rashes, diarrhea, and cholera. You work hard to keep yourself and your environment clean, but are you really safe from germs? Most infectious diseases are spread by touching contaminated surfaces or infected people. That is why health experts around the world recommend that you use Dettol every day to provide a healthy and hygienic environment for your family. Always use Dettol on cuts and wounds, for bathing and shaving, for disinfecting your laundry and various surfaces around the house. Every day, Dettol provides maximum protection against a wide range of unseen germs. When it comes to protecting your family, trust Dettol. Dettol, the world's #1 antiseptic, endorsed by the Kenya Medical Association.
The Saturday Standard will publish 9 pages of appointments and promotions of civil servants from various ministries in the public service. Get your copy of the Saturday Standard.
Welcome back. Let's take a look at the business news. And the June inflation index slowed down to 10.05%. This from 12.22% recorded in May, according to the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. The drop, the Bureau indicated, was largely attributed to a fall in food and fuel prices in the country. Here are the details to this particular story.
According to the survey carried out by the Bureau, the food and non-alcoholic prices fell 1.91% in June, while housing, water, electricity, gas and other fuel costs slipped 0.20%. This was largely attributed to improved food production across the country and the last fuel price reviews that saw pump prices reduced by about 3 shillings in mid-June. As a result, most Kenyans felt relief in the transport sector, electricity cost, as well as food items. At 10.05%, this is the lowest Kenya's inflation index has come since March 2011. As part of its economic outlines, Treasury has previously indicated its desires for a single-digit inflation. According to analysts, the fall, just like in the last 7 months, now put the Central Bank of Kenya in focus as it meets early next week to review its benchmark lending rate. Joseph Bonyo, KTN Business Today.
Let's move to a scenario which many people are saying is the right thing to do at the right place at the right time. The World Bank has sponsored the construction of a chicken slaughterhouse in Kakamega. This is expected to boost poultry production in the region, famous for chicken farming. The slaughterhouse, already built, will be equipped through the Kenya Agriculture Production Agri-Based Project, KAPP, at a cost of 1 million shillings. The slaughterhouse is the third in the country, with 2 more in Nakuru and Kitale respectively. It will be launched in a month's time and expected to promote a more hygienic processing of chicken meat for commercial sale in that particular region. Let's go to a story that drew huge reaction, especially from Twitter and Facebook. And the regional headquarters for Coca-Cola for Central, East and West Africa has come out fighting allegations that Coca-Cola products in Kenya contain cancer-causing chemicals, rubbishing that particular report prepared by the Center for Science and Public Interest from the US. Coca-Cola executives say the beverage only contains trace elements of the 4-MEI chemical that's not harmful to consumers. KTN's Michael Karanja with the details.
The report by CSPI adversely mentions Kenya as one of the 9 countries around the world where the drink contains varying levels of the chemical. 4-MEI is found in the caramel coloring used to make color dark brown, was shown to be carcinogenic in some animal studies. Coca-Cola executives, however, say the report is used in a maligning manner, as the trace elements of the chemical found in the beverage is not harmful to human consumption.
We take this early opportunity to unequivocally reject the irresponsible and malicious claims by CSPI.
4-MEI forms in foods such as caramel, which adds color and flavor to many foods and beverages during the production process. Coca-Cola began using less contaminated caramel early this year in the United States. With local executives, the same will be replicated in the market.
The ingredients which around the world our caramel suppliers source
have slight variations, and these are at trace levels, at micrograms per kg. So it is because of those variations which we get in the input.
Over the years, questions have been raised over the safety of consuming Coca-Cola, but the beverage giant maintains it adheres to the highest safety standards. Michael Karanja, KTN Business Today.
The Kenyan and Israeli governments have agreed to form a partnership of private organizations whose main aim will be to integrate new farming methods in Kibwezi, which is part of Makueni County. This is according to the area member of parliament, Philip Kiloki. The partnership is expected to help reduce poverty levels in this region and address food security in the county. In this effort, the Kenyan government has set aside 1 billion shillings for irrigation in the area, with an additional 300 million shillings from the government of Israel. The irrigation is expected to be carried out by the students of the University of Nairobi Irrigation Project.
Tuko hapa kuambia nyinyi, serikali iko nyuma yenu na nyinyi ni lazima mufanye ile sehemu yenu, ambaye sehemu yenu ni kama wewe uko na eka moja, ni lazima upande.
Look at more international business cooperation, where the French Development Agency has formally agreed to supplement its support to the government's Energy Access program through a 51 million euro concessional loan dedicated to supporting the connection of low-income customers in Kenya. This, as well as approving a grant of 500,000 euros on 3 years for the Social Fund for Development for financing of small-scale projects identified by the French Embassy and implemented by Kenyan NGOs and CBOs.
The 51 million euro loan is expected to boost access to electricity for low-income households by supporting the Kenya Power's Steamer Loan program for the pre-financing of connection fees for approximately 500,000 new customers over a 5-year period, as well as the distribution of energy-saving light bulbs to approximately 1 million new users.
Your Excellency, our country is faced with insufficient energy supply, occasioned by increased demand on the country's energy supply due to the ongoing development projects and the household's needs.
The loan is subjected to subsidy of interest that will see it attract a 1% interest with a repayment period of 20 years and a grace period of 5 years.
And the French government recently allocated 55 million shillings for the implementation of this 5th phase, and that's the grant we have just signed a minute ago with the minister.
At the same time, the Ministry of Finance and the French government approved a grant for 500,000 euros on 3 years for the Social Fund for Development for financing of small-scale projects to be implemented by local NGOs. Earlier on, Finance Minister Njeru Githai presided over the launch of a national sensitization and recruitment drive on youth access to 10% of all government procurement opportunities. Treasury allowed 550 million shillings to the Youth Enterprise Development Fund in the 2012-2013 financial year. Boni Tunya for KTN Business Today.
Well, let's quickly take a look at how the Kenyan shilling performed, and as you can see, a slight improvement, the keyword today being liquidity. The government, of course, through the central bank, has really tried to ensure that they squeeze that liquidity. It had been a bit increased once the government released the FBE funds, but at least a sigh of relief, as you can see, at 84 shillings and 13 cents. That's an improvement of just about 7 cents, and the selling price of 84 shillings and 32 cents. Yesterday, this particular figure was at 84 shillings and 40 cents. So on that particular front, an improvement on our side. But very quickly, the pound sterling, as you can see here, 131 shillings and 24 cents. Not very changed from yesterday also, and the selling price of 131 shillings and 58 cents. And finally, as you can see here, the euro, 105 shillings and 82 cents, that being the buying price across the banks, and the selling price of 106 shillings and 9 cents. Now, quickly, let me mention that July the 5th, we'll be seeing another rate decision by the MPC. Most people are saying, remember the first news item that I told you in business, the fact that inflation has gone down for the 7 months in a row. It's now down to 10.09%. So they might just think of reducing this. But again, this is where they seem to be focusing on. I mean, when you take a look at the Kenyan shilling, they really want to sustain this level. So it's going to be a catch-21, but let's see what they decide. That's it for this particular forum. Let's see how the NSE performed. I can tell you it was the second bad day in a row. Let's take a look at those figures from the NSE.
The Saturday Standard will publish 9 pages of appointments and promotions of civil servants from various ministries in the public service. Get your copy of the Saturday Standard.
Join Club 254 and enjoy calls to 10 of your buddies at $1 per minute and SMS them for free.
Life is great, life is unbelievable. Life is hard, life is cruel, life is so beautiful. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Life is unbelievable. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Unbelievable. Somewhere in life ain't yet on my way to anywhere.